And we are live. Moose, hit the music, DJ.
Oh, man, I've been waiting for this. I've been waiting for this.
You know what I've always appreciated, Moose?
I knew it was going to be that.
Oh, yeah.
No copyright infringement intended at all. Let's do some hellos before we get started with the night's topics. Big shout out to Mike West. Appreciate you for coming through. He got a whole gang of hashtags. You guys are more than welcome to use any of those in tonight's show. We got a bunch of them there. What's up, Barry? Good to see you, man. The homie MS is here. Sean Robinson is here. Good to have you. My buddy Zeke is in the house. We got D-Gaff. Yep, you guys are going to be the 2 Live crew tonight. Joeseph, the homie Keon. We got Ryan. And we got Darius. Appreciate you guys for coming through. You guys are hashtag early crew. We got Ashay and James. Appreciate you guys for coming in and hanging out. Not really a random live stream. We pretty much had this planned out that once all the carriers did their Q2 earnings, we were going to go ahead and put it all together into one show. I did videos on each of the carriers' reports. I did the Verizon one was a couple of weeks ago. I think the AT&T one was like the day after. So those 2 videos came in together. And then this one was actually supposed to be the first week of August, but it actually got moved up and bumped up. I'm assuming to kind of maybe stop the bleeding, sort of, I think. If you look at the stock price for T-Mobile, the share value kind of went down a little bit over the course of the last week and a half. Not saying for sure it's correlated to the Dish partnership ending, but I think it was in like the 149 mark, and I'm not giving anybody financial advice at all. The T-Mobile stock has been a growth stock. It's been increasing and adding value pretty much, for like the better part of the last 7 years. Organically, the stock grew to like 78 or 80 bucks or something. They got the merger approved. It skyrocketed to like 120 something. And then over the course of the last year and some change, it's gone up an additional $20 or so. So it's been a complete growth story dating back to the John Leisure era. They've been adding customers consistently, huge growth in metrics. Their service revenues have been increasing. Pretty much everything's good. Even till now, even though the stock has gone down a few dollars, I think it's down like $4 or $5. That's still a come up. If you went into T-Mobile at any point pre-merger, you're sitting pretty, right? If you have 10 shares, if you have 100 shares, if you have 1,000 shares, you're sitting pretty. The problem now is I think that little bit of value lost has been associated with the Dish conundrum, but now that's come and gone. We could talk a little bit about it today, but we're going to emphasize the T-Mobile numbers tonight, a little bit of analysis and summary, and then we'll compare all the carriers together. I do want to preface the podcast in this one way, though. When we talk numbers, that is fact, as reported by the carriers. When we give commentary, that is opinion. That is somebody trying to give their most likely explanation of why maybe the numbers are the way they are. Okay, so I tell everybody, the carriers care about investors. They don't care about you. They don't care about me. You don't owe them anything except your bill, and they don't owe you anything. In fact, they hate your guts, especially when you don't pay. And they try to play you. So before you get your panties in a bunch and get bent out of shape by something Moose or myself or Dave or Tyrone says something, we have no affiliations with these people. We don't work for any of these people, and they don't pay us money. So we're trying to do our best in explaining how we see things. You can agree, you can disagree. Don't come at me like I insulted your father or your brother or your sister. Don't start none, won't be nothing. Is that good? Is that a good liability clause right there? Are we good?
Yeah.
Yeah, except
Those are
there.
very good prepared remarks. Very good.
Okay.
There you go. I do have one thing to say though. I am an investor in all 3 wireless carriers: T-Mobile, AT&T, and Verizon.
So you
I
can
don't
say
care
whatever
who
you
does it.
want.
Yep. I
You're
can say
invested in
whatever the heck I want.
See, I was gonna say if you're invested in one, that's a problem. Two, that's a problem. But all three, you get the green light from me, man.
Nope, I'm in all three of them.
All right, Dave.
God, that-
Let's do this. I'm gonna share the screen. Moose, big shout out to Moose putting together the spreadsheet real quick to just kind of talk a little bit about these numbers. We're gonna start there with the consumer metrics. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a share screen. And let's see here. There we go. And we're just going to look at some of the numbers that we saw from all of the carriers now that we finally have the T-Mobile numbers. Now, we can't really do anything for Boost Mobile at this time. We could kind of put their numbers in here, but they're still technically prepaid and MVNO. All right, so it's a little bit different for Dish. Okay. Today, T-Mobile did add over 1 million connections, but they did not add 1 million postpaid phone net adds. So what they did get, they got 627,000 postpaid phone net adds. That's a good metric. But they did not hit 1 million, which is what I predicted. So I was wrong. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people agreed with me, so a lot of people were wrong. There were some people that did predict they were going to be somewhere around 600, 700, 800,000. So those that predicted that, you did pretty good. All right, because clearly I was over. All right, I did hit on the AT&T number, pretty much. I said 750K. I thought somewhere between 700 and 800K. The Verizon number, I was almost dead on. I said between 180 and 200. So I did all right, bro. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. I was way off on the T-Mobile numbers, and I was pretty much spot on with AT&T and Verizon. Moose, how do you feel about the postpaid net ads, man?
Oh man. Okay. You see, the thing that we got to take into consideration, right, is this was a very interesting Q2, right? We had massive shortages in devices, right? Still to this day, you can't get an iPhone 12 64 gigabyte in certain areas. It's back ordered. I know Tyrone and I, we've been talking about that even in El Paso, there's some stores that don't have inventory, you know?
Yep.
So when we look at the upgrade rates, right, they're significantly lower than the previous quarter and the previous quarter, right? But it should be, actually, I'm not even going to say it should pick up because we've already been told by Apple, yes, they're going to order 150 million units for the chips, right, for the CPUs. But there's still going to be supply shortages. This might be the worst upgrade cycle since, I don't even remember the last time it was going to be this bad, but simply because of supply constraints.
So, but it's not related to the carrier, more so about the supply of the
Right.
handsets. Okay.
Correct. Because of the pandemic, because of the microchip, the semiconductor situation that is going to apparently be with us for another 2 more years, we're going to be
They're
having
saying
some
to
difficulties.
2023.
Yeah, this is going to be very difficult to get a device, Sneedman.
Yep. So, let's go ahead and get Tyrone in here now. Talk a little bit about the postpaid net ads from the 3 carriers, including T-Mobile. Go ahead, Tyrone.
Yeah. Just real quick, I got a PSA. The Lakers just got Russell Westbrook. Trade is official.
Oh, they got the trade. Okay.
Oh man.
Yeah, they got
How about them Lakers coming back?
Y'all don't know. See, I follow Tyrone on Twitter, so I know about his chops when it comes to the league. So I was ready for him to have that news, man.
So about the numbers, Q2 is usually interesting because it follows a Q1 that's usually slower for all carriers across the board. I think we can kind of see what Q3 and Q4 is going to look like. I think all are going to perform better, but I still think Verizon is going to be last on the totem pole in terms of growth. And I think it's really just between T-Mobile and AT&T who's willing to pay more for the customer.
Yeah.
I think that's what it's going to really come down to. And I think T-Mobile is I don't want to say struggling in a way, but I think when they mentioned that 1/3 of their activations came from rural America, I think that shows you their shift in focus. They know that their main customer, which lives in the urban environment, that market is saturated for them to grow like they used to grow. So now they got to go through other streams and means to get customers. Rather, we're going to start hearing them. By the way, this is kind of a scoop that I got earlier. We're going to hear a lot about home internet in Q3 and Q4. Just that's a given. We're going to hear a lot about that verbally from T-Mobile and marketing wise. That's going to be all they talk about now. So that's going to be their next growth story is home internet. 500K end of year. I listened to Sneed's video. He said he thinks they triple that number next year. I completely agree. I completely agree. So, and like Sneed said, beating the cable companies, that wasn't a tall task. I mean, those guys generally don't compete well anyway in terms of their products. So I think it's between AT&T and T-Mobile, and then whenever Verizon wants to join that fight, they are more than capable money-wise, but they don't seem to be pushing anything big in terms of marketing or anything. They're kind of just there.
Big shout out to Keon with the super chat. Appreciate you. Says I'm mad for no reason. LOL. I guess.
What did I tell you, Keon? What did I tell you?
So some of what Tyrone is saying makes a lot of sense when it comes to where they're going to target. So they have never had growth of any type of tangible. I don't know, like their urban growth was incredible, but once they took over with Sprint, now that growth cap is very low, right? So like their ceiling in urban, it's not going to be there. It's a really low ceiling. In rural, they've never penetrated, so it's like a brand new market that they've never had. So literally the way I see T-Mobile in rural America is build a tower, build a store. If you build a tower and build a store in a town you have no existing any type of branding recognition, any type of name notoriety, you're instantly going to get people to at least look your way. These are places that have only used Verizon and AT&T for decades. They're dying for a competitor. I was talking to Carter not too long ago, and he was telling me about Murray County, Georgia, where pretty much everybody was on Verizon. T-Mobile started putting in towers, and now you have a real competitor because they pretty much have been matching site for site, but the hardware is upgraded. It's modern. So they have more carriers, they have more spectrum. It's performing very well, so it's going to be easy to get those people to switch. Plus, your pricing is better. And you're going to offer home internet so you can deepen the customer relationship there. And by the way, people in rural America are not flaky. These are people that will be loyal if you give them what they're paying for. Right? So I see this as a very smart approach. I don't know what took them so long. I'm assuming it was literally Sprint. That's what took T-Mobile so long to get to this point. Without Sprint, they don't generate the revenue it takes to have the money to expand coverage, to also build retail footprint. So it all seems to be coming together for T-Mobile. And they know that, like Tyrone was saying, it's tough to compete in the urban. They're still going to compete, but the growth there is slow. There's not a lot of new customers in urban. There are new customers in rural America for T-Mobile. All right, so I totally agree. No more $100 bomb super chats. John, I appreciate the super chat. It doesn't matter. No more bombs is fine. Let me go ahead and get Dave B's Tech in here. Dave, tell us a little bit about the additions there. You got AT&T at $789K, T-Mobile at $627K, Verizon at $197K.
I think I agree with the whole. It's whoever's willing to pay for the customer is who's going to get the business between AT&T and T-Mobile. Verizon is a very mature network, and you can see that by its market share. I mean, look at you in the CLE there. What did you say? They have like 53% market share. I think it's
very
you said.
High. The postpaid market share is really high. It's over 50%. Yeah.
And Verizon, as of right now, really isn't a real competitor in prepaid until they get does it track phone they're trying to get?
But does that guarantee they're going to compete, or does it just give them market share?
No, I think it gives them market share. I don't know if they're going to compete or not.
Right.
I think they'll probably shoot for break even on prepaid, honestly.
Wow.
But home internet, man, I am really looking forward to that. Seeing more home internet in rural. I'm actually later this year moving into a town I'm moving from a town of 150,000 people to a town of 15,000. And I'm going to take my home internet with me and see how it works. Because I've visited there before and T-Mobile service was good. So we're going to see how home internet performs in a town that small.
All right. So we got some of those numbers crunched. Let's do a couple of more. Big shout out to Ciova. Let's see. We got prepaid phone net ads. This one's interesting. AT&T 174K, T-Mobile 76K, and then Verizon, it looks like 18K. Okay, Verizon's never been able to truly compete in prepaid. They just never have. They do have prepaid proper. They have MVNO. They have business agreements. But they don't compete in prepaid. They never have. They likely never will. The 76K from T-Mobile is commendable. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not record-breaking. We got a little echo. It's not record-breaking, but it's good. The AT&T is incredible. They added 174,000 subscribers. That is almost, it's almost 3 times as much as second place T-Mobile. So I think it's a combination of two things. AT&T's promotions and their discounts that they're giving on their top premium unlimited plan. And I also think it's their network access. I think they offer the best prepaid access. I think it's really, really good. I've used it. I like it. I recommend it. And they're doing good things. They're doing good things there. Let's go ahead and go back to Dave for this one. We'll snake back around. Dave, any commentary on those numbers from prepaid?
Those are really good numbers. And as you see, like prepaid, there's a lot more churn. And I'm actually a prepaid customer of T-Mobile's. I use the T-Mobile Connect. And I'm really, really satisfied with the service. But all the carriers are doing pretty good numbers. As you said, Verizon doesn't really compete, but AT&T and T-Mobile are really pushing each other, both in the post and the prepaid sectors.
Let's go ahead and get Tyrone in this one. Tyrone, go ahead, man. Prepaid numbers.
Yeah, I don't want to say that the prepaid numbers don't matter anymore, but as these carriers are more aggressive on migrating from prepaid to postpaid, then what's the sense in prepaid? I think the way to go is the MVNO space. I mean, out of that, all those numbers that T-Mobile posted today, I can guarantee you 200,000 came from prepaid. I guarantee it 100%. So they're migrating. They're using the Sprint playbook on migrating customers from a prepaid base to a postpaid model. They'll tell you, hey, we keep you on there 6 to 12 months. You make your payments on time, then you qualify for this new promotion, and we migrate you. So I think
their conversion is high, Tyrone?
It's insanely high. It's insanely high.
Okay.
It's insanely high, and I think Verizon's going to try the same with TracFone once they close that deal. They're going to look at migrating them too.
I don't know. We'll see what happens. Let's get Moose in here. Moose, talk to me about those prepaid numbers.
It's going to be very interesting. We know that Boost is going to get a boost, right, with the AT&T partnership that was announced, right, just a few days ago. That might change the dynamic from Spectrum Mobile, Xfinity Mobile, and all the other MVNOs, because they might have the most lucrative deal to switch, right? Because you're going to have a significant amount of capacity. They might have the best phone deal for prepaid. We don't know; it's yet to be seen. That might be starting this quarter as well, Sneedman, right? With the iPhone, it's coming in hot, right? Mm-hmm. Just a few more days, right? September 24th, if I'm not mistaken. September 24th, right? That's the launch for iPhone 13 or iPhone 12s, whatever it's called. But just on the numbers, I don't think T-Mobile's focused on prepaid anymore, to be completely honest with you. And the reason why is because we've talked about this many times before. Last year, particularly, the dealers are going away. They're not being incentivized to sell anymore. They're not being incentivized to maintenance the accounts anymore. They're poaching their own customers, migrating them from prepaid to postpaid. It's all about postpaid right now. U.S. has been a fundamentally postpaid country for years. So I don't think prepaid is that hot of a commodity to talk about anymore, man. Like, let's be completely honest here. Are they making money off of it? Not as much as postpaid. Period.
Okay, so we got to unpack a lot of what you said there, Moose. But first, big shout out to Max Tech Studios. Any of my mods, if you could please get a link to his channel up here, please, into the live chat. He is one of the newest members of the SMT Patreon, so welcome to the community, and thank you for your pledge, Max. Okay, Moose, so here's the thing. Prepaid situation with T-Mobile. I know you said that they don't want to emphasize prepaid anymore. In my opinion, if you look at their most recent promotion, it is directly attacking two companies. That is Cricket Wireless, which is AT&T's prepaid arm, and then it's Boost Mobile, which is Dish's MVNO prepaid. They're specifically targeting those two customer demographics. Metro by T-Mobile is the name in prepaid at this point in time. Previously, I would have said it was TracFone. TracFone's going to Verizon. In all realistic angles, I think it's going to happen. Whether there are concessions and regulations that have to take place, it still looks like a go to me. So they are still pretty busy in prepaid. They just don't have to do much anymore outside of fighting for that business, because pretty much at this point, Moose, if you offer a free 5G phone, customers are going to switch, because there are still people on 3G and CDMA devices, 3G and GSM, and those customers will jump at the opportunity to trade in their old phone and get themselves a 5G phone for free. Big shout out to the homie, 2 phones for free. So my point is this. T-Mobile is absolutely competing in prepaid. In fact, they are probably structured to do the most in prepaid because of that free phone offer. Oh, and by the way, they're giving the service at half off. They're going to charge people $25 a month on a 2-year deal. Like, they'll give them 2 years on that price, lock them in. Cricket's at $60. With AutoPay, it's $55. Boost Mobile's at $50. They're coming in hot at $25 and giving you a free 5G Galaxy A32. People are most definitely going to take that on.
Boost is going to get their customers boosted from them.
Yeah, it's literally, and we know about the fallout with Dish and T-Mobile, and it's been bad for a year. I'm not going to pretend like the relationship between Charlie Ergen and Mike Sievert wasn't pretentious going back a year. It's been awful. And in my opinion, I'm not here to assert blame. I think they're both terrible. One is a wolf in sheep's clothing, and the other one is just as crude as they come. Right? Charlie Ergen is, I mean, you can trust him as far as you could throw him, and Mike Sievert is who we think he is. So, you know, they're both culpable for this, most definitely. But Moose, I'm telling you, there's run in prepaid, even if the temporary current tendency is postpaid. Because what are they fighting for if it doesn't matter?
But like I was saying, it's not a profitable enough business, right? Tyrone, you want? Yeah, go ahead, Tyrone.
Yeah, just real quick to Sneed's point, not only is T-Mobile taking their customers, they're also taking Dish's executive team. They got 2 new hires earlier. One of them is going to run the home internet segment, and I think I forgot which other one they got, but they're also taking Dish's executive team.
Wow. Hey, what's up, Carter? Good to see you, man. There we go. We got a link for Max Tech Studios. Appreciate you, Mike. Okay. Next set of numbers. Postpaid churn. Okay, so for those of you that have never heard that word before, maybe you have, churn rate is a calculation. It's a metric that's used to describe customer retention, meaning the lower the number, the better. So very common, or very typically, we see postpaid churn rates, usually around 0.9%, 0.8%, 0.7%. So starting from the lowest postpaid churn, Verizon came in at 0.65. Historically, Verizon has a very low churn rate. People don't really come and go. They stick with Verizon. It's also kind of the age demographic to a point as well. Most people are satisfied with the service also. AT&T came in at a very close number 2, 0.69%. And then T-Mobile a little bit further away at 0.87%. So that's their branded postpaid churn. Now, something that's interesting, historically, T-Mobile's business churn is not industry leading. I think this quarter it was. So that's kind of interesting. Verizon's was a little bit higher than normal, and T-Mobile's was much lower than normal. So that's an interesting twist of the tale. That's an area that T-Mobile's going to try to grow in, and they've got some promise based on the churn rate. AT&T, I think their business churn was similar to maybe a little bit lower than Verizon. So it was better than Verizon's, but not as good as T-Mobile's, I think. Prepaid churn rates were really low for T-Mobile. They had industry best prepaid churn. They were like 2.65%. I think Verizon's was over 3%, and I think AT&T's was about 2.95%. So that was really low too. Typically, prepaid churns are like 4 or 5%. What do you guys think of those churn rates there, postpaid and prepaid? We'll start with Tyrone.
Yeah, I think T-Mobile is still trying to that their consumer on the T-Mobile branded churn is lower than the rest of the industry, but with Sprint it comes to that 0.87%, so they're still counting them separate. But I think you mentioned in your video that they dropped it from the quarter previously. It was, I think, 0.98. They dropped 0.87, so I guess there's some improvement there for T-Mobile. I guess next quarter it might be even lower. So we'll see. But I think Verizon's is, you're spot on. I think people don't leave Verizon. The service is great. So I think even going into Q3 and Q4, the churn is going to stay right around where it's at now. Same with AT&T. I think AT&T will be at a 0.6, 0.7 around there. I don't think both of them go any higher. I think T-Mobile is the one that needs severe improvements, especially on the Sprint base, as they are now going to accelerate the migration. Apparently, these store reps are going to be commissioned to move these customers over, so they're going to be very aggressive trying to get people into these TNX SIMs, and maybe even pushing more for the account migration here in the near-term future.
Let's go ahead and get Moose in here now. Talk a little bit about these churn rates.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's really interesting, right, Sneed? We talked about this in the peak pandemic, right? March, April, May of last year. And people are not moving, Sneed. People are not moving. You would expect people would move significantly away from a higher price point service, right? Verizon, to a lower or maybe a better, all around better value, like we've talked about, right, Sneed Man? The taxes and fees are included, etc. Netflix. People are not moving. Sneed, this is unprecedented, right? 0.65 for Verizon. Amazing. Beautiful.
Low, yeah.
But something very interesting that we should talk about is people are moving at a higher rate away from T-Mobile for the first time, right? Mm-hmm. Why are people moving away from T-Mobile?
It's got to be performance-based, right?
Right. It can't be money.
No, because their pricing is the best in the industry. Postpaid.
Right. Can't be money. Can't be money.
No. Big shout out to MS. Yeah. Thank you for the super chat. The new Boost ads paid for by AT&T are good. Bad for T-Mobile. Okay, gotcha. We're expecting to see more of those, actually.
By the way, Sneed, did you see the new commercials that they're going to launch before the live stream started?
Which ones?
they showed 2 new commercials that they're going to launch on a national basis before, like 10 minutes before the live stream started. Earnings call.
No, I haven't seen them. I'll have to check those out after the live stream.
Okay, yeah, I just want to see because they're going to be very aggressive. They're going to include everything in those commercials that they're going to offer going into Q3.
What I was going to say is don't be surprised if you see or continue to see the marketing onslaught of T-Mobile because they're attacking 2 things, network perception and then mind share. They want people to think 5G. They want them to think T-Mobile.
Yeah, they did say during the earnings call that they're closing that perception percentage against Verizon. I think they briefly talked about.
All right, let's get Carlos in here. Carlos, what up, my brother?
What up, man? What's going on?
Welcome to the show, man. MS,
Hello.
appreciate you for the super chat.
What up? What up? Hey, did you guys talk about the part on let's put it this way, how Dish has exclusive access to HBO Max and all the HBO products?
No, we haven't gotten to any of that yet.
Oh,
That's pretty huge, man.
of course it's huge.
Wow. Okay.
Let's
All right. Well, let's get there. Let's get through these numbers. We're just crunching them a little bit. Let's do this next one. Or no, we got to get Dave in there. Dave, did you want to chime in on the churn rates?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, go ahead.
I think that the churn is very cyclical. You see a lot of postpaid to prepaid and prepaid to postpaid, and that can be directly attributed to the economy. I think it was Moose mentioned before with the pandemic back in like last May, you saw a lot of people going to prepaid just simply because of the economy and people were worried about their jobs and trying to save $1, right? And when that kind of fear sets in, people jump to something that's a little bit cheaper, and they'll come back when conditions improve, which they are doing so now.
So historically, they say that Q3, so this one that we're kind of like in the heart of, and it'll run through September, and then we'll get numbers in October and November. They say that Q3 historically has high churn, but it's good because people are coming and going. They're not disappearing from the switcher pool. It's basically like, okay, well, some Verizon people are going to leave and some AT&T are going to leave and some T-Mobile are going to leave, but whoever has the more attractive switcher deal, that's when those people start to, they get these transactions. They convert the iPhone deals and the Samsung Galaxy deals. Tyrone, did you want to chime in?
Yeah, I just want to know what the carriers are going to do from jumping from Q3 to Q4. I mean, we've seen what I would say is some of their best promotions in terms of broken phones. If you drop your phone in water, you bring it in, we'll give you a new phone for free. I mean, I want to see how the carriers are going to top that going into what I would say is probably going to be one of the most biggest spending holiday quarters we might ever have. If people still have that stimulus money, they're going to spend it this holiday season in a big way. And I guess Biden now wants to pay everybody $100 to get vaccinated, so people are going to have a little bit of money to throw around. So I want to see how the carriers are going to top their current deals. I mean, it's going to be tough.
Buy a phone, get a free vacation.
Sure, why not?
Sure, why not? Yeah, I can see that happening, man. That's not too far.
All right, let's go ahead and welcome Apple Watts to the show. Apple Watts, what up, buddy?
What's going on, everybody?
Hey, man. Glad to have you here on the show.
Good
Glad
to
you
be here.
could accept the invite. We got a super chat from Morris. Thank you for that super chat, man. He's a truck driver. Looks like he's driving the 48 on the mainland, moving away from Verizon to T-Mobile. Morris, I would definitely make sure that they have the roaming partners in place. T-Mobile doesn't necessarily have the track record for national coverage when it comes to travelers and trucks. So maybe check your routes and just make sure that you're covered there. Or give it a shot as a secondary line. If it's good, it's good. Keep it. Save that money. I recommend it. But, you know, Verizon's legendary for coverage, and AT&T seems to be right there.
If he has an iPhone, T-Mobile still offers a 30-day test drive as a dual SIM. I would highly recommend doing that.
Oh, yeah.
Or do like
right.
on the forums.
Yeah.
Not where we're liked.
whoa. Or maybe do like a visible type deal where you do like T-Mobile as your primary line and then like a visible secondary. If you're trying to save a little money from Verizon, that might be an option. That way, if for some reason you get outside of T-Mobile coverage, then you can always use the visible as your data SIM and do Wi-Fi calling with that.
Yeah, I mean, however it could be. But like I was saying, I mean, you won't know until you test it, so that's kind of on you. So I wouldn't necessarily make a switch until you've at least tried it for the month, you know, in a very typical usage type of way.
I would not try Visible out as a coverage because for Visible, they don't have access to the extended LTE areas. I would not use them. Mm-mm.
Okay, well, that's good advice, too. Well, because Visible doesn't have access to all the networking and roaming, and they're still operating 3G Los in some places, right? You've connected to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you don't get access to that. You don't get access, let's say, if it's on a ComNet, you don't get access to that. You lose a lot of access. It's not even worth it.
Oh, you don't get the Verizon Partners access? Well, that's dumb.
No. Yeah, it's LT. It's native LT only.
Well, it's $25 a month. You get what you pay for. I'm afraid.
Oh, and what is this 3G you speak of?
I know, Dave. I know. All right. Let's move on to this next item. CapEx. We're talking about the network here, and big shout out to Morris. Thank you for that, man. Okay, now this one is interesting, and I was actually really happy on the T-Mobile earnings call because they slightly increased the CapEx for the rest of the year. So they basically increased the guidance a smidge. It was prior to today's earnings, it was I think it was 11.7 billion to 12.0 billion. Now it's 12.0 to 12.3 billion. So it's a slight bump. It's a good sign to me. To me, it sounds like they're on schedule. They're doing what they want to do, but they want to kick it up a notch. So they must have really good momentum. They feel good about where they're at. They just want to end the year on a good note, going through Q3 and Q4. The one thing I've noticed about T-Mobile is most of the money is spent for the year before the end of Q3. So maybe that extra $300 million is a little bit extra to put at the end of the year, you know, like for October, November upgrades, because they're usually not doing much in December, right? So maybe that's what it is. The CapEx for AT&T has been bumped up. It's now over 20 billion. They are saying that they're probably going to be falling between 21 to 23 billion over the next couple of years. We'll see. I mean, they've got dedicated C-band spending. Mm-hmm. Verizon has the dedicated C-band spending as well, 2 to 3 billion annually. I think AT&T is right there in that range as well. Verizon's at, I think, 18.5 billion. They may have actually bumped it up slightly last quarter as well. So the carriers are not bashful about spending. Carlos, let's get started with you on the CapEx stuff.
What do you want me to touch up on it? What do you want me to touch up on it, bro?
The CapEx, AT&T has bumped up, Verizon has bumped up, and even T-Mobile a slight bump up. What do you think, man?
Yeah, they have bumped up, don't get me wrong, but for them to say that they surpassed on postpaid churn AT&T and Verizon, it did not make sense. Or, well, they didn't say them, but it said other mobile wireless providers. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, bro, they were just trying to play cleanup because they know they weren't number one this quarter, which is fine. You know, eventually you're going to take a hit. You know, it just happens. You know, you're going to have, you had so many great quarters that eventually you're going to have at least one screw up somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, bro, you already know how I feel about the situation, bro. And I love how they reamed Mr. Siebert about the Dish deal. I love it. It was amazing.
Oh, can we please talk about this? Please.
Before we get into the Dish stuff, which is interesting, and I definitely want to get to it. Let's just finish the CapEx stuff. Dave, did you want to comment on the CapEx stuff?
No, I don't think I've got anything on it.
You think it's good? Everything is on the up and up?
Yep. I think I'm glad they're raising it, that's for sure. Like, I'm glad that T-Mobile's raising their, even if it's $300 million, that's still some more N41 sites.
Agreed. 100%. Moose, go ahead. Increase on CapEx from all the carriers.
You know, it's
T-Mobile
interesting.
Included.
You know, $300 million. You know, how much is that $300 million worth in terms of N41, or is it going to be N71, or is it going to be, what is it, right? $300 million in the beginning of the year. Why wasn't that factored in? Why in the middle was there now revision, right, of $300 million? And why only $300 million, right, Sneed? Right? That's another question. Is it maybe they don't have enough N41 up by the end of the year to meet their goal? Remember, they have a goal.
I look at $300 million as a percentage.
Right.
Right. So they're probably looking at it like, can we push an extra 5 to 10% CapEx this quarter to kind of more like front load the upgrades? I'm telling you, I think it's the positive momentum that they're seeing with the N41 upgrades. They want that to continue. And you don't continue momentum by getting your foot off of the gas. Right? So they're actually putting their foot on the gas a little bit more. So I like it. I'm okay with it, even though it's just $300 million, as you're saying. That's $300 million that wasn't there before. So to me, it's like a little icing on the cake, the layer cake, if you will.
I think I have an idea of why. Investors, remember, these calls are for investors, and investors love to see these raises because it makes them look like they're doing better than they actually are. So what you do is you set your stuff low, like you set the bar low, and then you exceed that bar, and the stock market loves that.
It's interesting. I also think that they probably require this CapEx. I think they're doing a little bit more on the fiber optic. I think we're seeing more fiber optic upgrades because now they've realized that we have sites with 60, 80, and 100 megahertz N41, and we're still seeing congested sites. So that's where I think a lot of the leases for the backhaul, I think that's where some of this $300 million is going. Neville doesn't want to talk about it. Mike Sievert doesn't want to talk about it, but the truth is the network potential of N41 is directly correlated to their fiber optic backhaul. The hardware is fine. The software is great. The firmware, all things systematically are fine. It's literally a constraint at the tower site. What type of fiber is running that tower? Tyrone, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I want to definitely speak on that because they made some very sneaky points that some people missed. They mentioned an increase in CapEx, but I don't know if you heard it, Sneed. They also mentioned a heavy investment on OpEx. Fiber goes to the OpEx. So I'm anticipating them also to boost the backhaul in the second half of this year. And it's going to significantly increase the OpEx, especially as more of that Sprint base migrates to the T-Mobile network. They're going to need an increase in backhaul. There's no ifs, ands, buts, maybes about it. The backhaul will have to go up. The CapEx, on the other end, the $300 million, it's going to accelerate something. It's going to accelerate brand new sites, N41, whatever it is, it's going to accelerate something. But I think there's pressure that T-Mobile feels, and it's CapEx pressure because AT&T and Verizon are just investing so much, and they follow the market. They have internal tools that show them like, hey man, Verizon is blowing through the C-band deployment very quickly. We may need to increase to accelerate a little more so we can stay ahead. That's all they're trying to do. They always stated in the past that they have the balance sheet to defend their position as the leader in the market space, but not if Verizon is just blowing sites in on them. They're gonna feel that, and they're gonna feel that very, very quickly. So I think that's in part of why they're increasing the CapEx, and we could see it increase more later in the year. Who knows?
Let me get Apple Watts in here. Apple Watts, you've been a subscriber, viewer, supporter. You've had a lot of interactions with us here in the community and stuff like that. Does CapEx and investment into network impact your decisions on whether or not you go with a carrier? Does their spending impact your decision on doing business with them?
100,000%, dude. Like, I'm not going to go with T-Mobile if their CapEx is so low here in the DFW. You know, if they're not deploying as much N41 here, you know, if I can get it at my job, that's good, but I need to have it, you know, in between my job and home.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't make sense. So I'm going to go with the carrier that, you know, has decent coverage overall. So CapEx is very important when it comes down to it. You know, you've got to have the spectrum and the backhaul. It's got to equal out.
Yeah, because we've seen sites with 80 megahertz of N41, and we've seen speed struggle. So in those instances, you know, Tyrone talked about the OpEx and, you know, the investment it's going to take. I think we're going to see a lot of that improve in the back end of this year. I made that prediction last year, I think probably November, December-ish, and I predicted that they were going to start picking up a lot of speed on these route metrics, these open signals, these UCLAs, because of the N41, but you've got to invest. And they've been growing a lot. I mean, you can't forget the organic growth plus the merger growth. They want to decom Sprint. Well, you can't decom Sprint until you are fully capable of holding all those customers onto your core network, which is the T-Mobile network. Tyrone has talked about this a lot. He says this company is big now, and the T-Mobile anchor network needs to be able to support all T-Mobile customers, including Sprint. You can't shut down Sprint till the T-Mobile network can hold its own. And as of right now, I see two problems with it. I see tower density being an issue once they decom the Sprint sites that they don't want, and the lack of small cells creating new issues for them, which is something totally different. But these are some of the things that I've thought about in considering the future of the networking. Let's go ahead and transition. I'm actually going to open things up for Moose. Moose, did you see the complete sidestep, wolf tickets, excuses that Eugene, Sweaty Armpits himself, made about the Dish situation?
Oh my God. Okay. I'm actually going to hand over the floor to Tyrone about this because I'm going to get too heated too quick. I'd rather come in at the end.
Oh, hold on. Do we need the Old Spice for Eugene? Hold on. Do we need the Old Spice?
Bro, his right guard turned left, bro. 100%.
I'm going to get way too heated on this. So, Tyrone, tell me about the Dish situation on the earnings call today.
Well, I guess it was a bet that they had that the first question would be about Dish between him and the CFO. It was a $100 bet. And sure enough, the first question was about the Dish situation. I think, honestly, if the FCC reviewed this earnings call, I think it would backfire on them because they technically said that this Dish deal was just a merger remedy that we needed to do. But I can't believe, in my opinion, I can't believe that he actually said it in that way because we know that's what it really was. He told on the earnings call that Dish was nowhere in their plans at all during any of the merger discussions. Dish was not in the plans, and each year that Dish gets going on their facility-based network and they remove customers off the T-Mobile network, he stated that revenue was going to go down anyway every year thereafter. So Dish was just literally, and Sneed has mentioned this and he beat this to death, Dish was literally just there to get that merger approved. That's the only reason why Dish was even in the picture, and John was the one that selected Dish Network. Like we stated, I mean, we said that on plenty of videos. John was able to pick Dish, and now we're in this situation where literally T-Mobile's like, whatever, hey, you want to go to AT&T, go to AT&T, we don't care. That's pretty much what Mike alluded to today. We'll use that capacity for our business, for our home internet customers. We don't need your Dish, get out of here. That's pretty much what he said in the night.
Yeah, some of the commentary from Mike Sievert was absolutely awful. What he's trying to do is he's trying to save face. It totally backfired, and here's what I mean. Some of the stuff that he said about the Dish situation, This would be Dish moving away from T-Mobile as the network service agreement and going with AT&T. So from T-Mobile to AT&T. They said that T-Mobile home internet, IoT, customer mobility was now going to be better because they weren't going to have Dish customers and having to support the Dish Boost Mobile side. Here's why that's wolf tickets. Dish customers, like Boost Mobile customers, have a 35 gig data cap. 35 gigs? T-Mobile's giving 30 gigs away to people for free to just use on the app. You know, the T-Mobile test drive app? That goes to show you how they don't care about 30 gigs of data. So you mean to tell me 30 gigs of data doesn't matter, but 35 gigs does matter on Dish? A depriode? He's lying, right? He's making an excuse. The other side to that is how do you kick billions of dollars out of your bed? They were going to be selling service to Dish, making at least, based on the AT&T structure, at least $500 million annual, if not up to $2.5 billion annual. And word on the street is that the rate on T-Mobile is more expensive, which would mean their value would have been higher. But again, he's trying to save face. He doesn't want to look bad in front of investors. But you got to believe that people on the investment side started to care because, look, the stock price went down. It did matter more than he let on. But like I said, he's trying to save face. I mean, he's full of crap. Mike Sievert will lie through his teeth. You know what else he said about Dish? He said, "We love Dish. We're here to support them." No, you aren't, dude. You didn't even want to lease 600 megahertz from them. You wanted it for free.
That was the biggest lie he told all day.
See? Tyrone, people act like I try to pick on Mike Sievert. He does these things. I don't tell him to do them.
And then the marketing on the Metro side literally states that, hey, Boost is not willing to upgrade your phone, but we will. Well, the whole argument from Dish was that they needed help upgrading phones. That's all they needed help with. If Mike was so willing to help, then they would have still remained partners.
Mike Sievert said that he wants to help upgrade people's phones only if you're on his network. But on his terms,
Exactly.
right? He's not doing that for Dish. AT&T appears ready to help Dish with that.
Yep, 100%. And then what Mike's going to do, he's going to get the Boost customer, the Metro, and then from Metro to T-Mobile. Because they're done with Metro too.
Carlos, talk about the Boost Mobile situation with Dish, T-Mobile, and AT&T, and then specifically, I did a video yesterday. Tyrone, I think you did as well. We were discussing the promotion to get people onto Metro from Boost, really, and Cricket also.
Bro, you already know how I feel about that.
They just threw Cricket in there, so it doesn't look too obvious.
I know, right?
But the main objective was Boost. And any MVNO of Dish. We already know that they're going to go after Republic, they're going to go after Team, they're going to go after them all. But, I mean, I think Dish, whatever deal they struck with AT&T, they did a good deal because now they have access to the HBO. HBO, not just HBO on their TV side, on their postpaid TV side that they sell. I'm talking about they got access to the HBO Max app. It's $12 a month, and it includes Cinemax, HBO, and HBO Max for Dish TV customers. So as long as you have a Dish,
wow, what a deal!
$12, bro. That's a sweet deal. So that means if you don't feel like watching it on the app, hey, you can watch it on your TV on the channel, no problem.
That's correct. I received the email today stating that. So it's $12 a month for the first year, and then after that, it goes to $15.
But even at $15, you're talking about AT&T TV sells HBO alone just to have the HBO channels $15 a month. That's not Cinemax. That's not including the app. Well, they include the app.
Dish gives you a couple of deals, dude. When you first sign up with Dish, so they'll give you, I think it's another service, so they give you a little bit off on that too. The first 3 months, like Showtime, for example. So they do give you some deals right away.
So I look at it like this: Dish had to do what they had to do. They did it. They struck a good deal with AT&T. T-Mobile was not willing to play ball. We had Eugene selling a bunch of Wolf tickets, bro. I never heard Wolf tickets being sold so hard, bro. This was crazy, bro. How are you saying that?
Look, Carlos, honestly, the worst, like the lowlights of the entire earnings was the Dish part. That was the absolute worst part of the earnings. He's full of it. Seaver is an absolute liar. That was terrible. One of the things that I wanted to note, this quarter was not a big growth quarter for T-Mobile, but financially they did great. So there's a lot of things that are good about this earnings. The future outlook looks good too. The synergies, the revenues, it all looks good. The Dish situation is the low light of the quarter, and it's the low light of Mike Sievert's era, or the Mike Seaver era of T-Mobile. So far, it's the worst thing he's done. He should have handled it differently. He looks like the bad guy, and he looks two-faced, and he speaks out of both sides of his mouth. How do you say you want to enable and help and you love Dish, and then you did all of what you've done over the course of the last year? You know what I mean? So just calling a spade, you know, that's how it looks. That's what is said, you know?
That's how it looks. That's what is said, you know?
Tyrone, did you want to chime in?
I just think that.
Tyrone, did you want to chime in?
Yeah, I just think that the deal that T-Mobile is doing through Metro PCS, I mean, Charlie has to look at that as like a sneak diss. Now I'm wondering how Charlie's going to respond, because they're technically going after that base 100%. So now, I mean, Charlie already technically responded by going with a larger network with AT&T. That was the first response. But now I really want to see what he's going to structure his postpaid after, to see how he's going to. I think he's going to specifically target T-Mobile in all his ads and all his marketing. I really truly believe that now.
Tyrone, I would not be surprised if the first ad, like you said, T-Mobile, but I think he's going to target those Sprint customers, bro, because a lot of them, okay, they get the TNX SIM card. I've been at T-Mobile stores. You know what? I'm going to record it I'm going to go to a T-Mobile store and just chill there for an hour, and I'll record when I hear somebody complaining about the TNX SIM. We have that here so much, bro, where they complain. They're like, ever since you guys switched this to this SIM, literally, calls are dropping. I can't even do a FaceTime call with my daughter. That was one lady. You know, she was like, because it looks like, you know, like ass. She said it straight up. And, you know, she was like, I need to get back my Sprint SIM card. And they said, we don't have any. So I helped her, and I told her, go to the Apple store. You know, since you have an iPhone, tell them that your SIM card got damaged, and they'll give you one for free, because they still got them in the back. And they did. And then she came back. Literally, by the time I was done there, she went there to the Apple store, got the SIM, came back, and they reactivated that SIM for her. It's crazy that there's still those issues. And they're complaining about Dish and their 35 gigs, and then it goes to 2G. Get the hell out of here, bro. That's nothing, bro.
I am buying it, Los.
I ain't buying that shit either, bro.
That's Wolf tickets all day.
They're smoking.
This is where their LTE is getting congested on T-Mobile. I've seen it numerous times.
I swear to God, bro. I thought I was looking at a T-Mobile commercial when he was speaking, bro.
There was a lot of. Oh, that's another thing that the takeaway from the earnings call. It was a lot about their 5G leadership. I don't know, Dave, you said you had listened into the earnings report. Did you catch that as well? Did you notice a lot of the 5G milestones, the 5G landmarks, the lead, you know, in coverage and reach and such?
Oh Lord, yes. Since they,
it was
Lord,
a lot,
yes.
right? It was a lot.
since they've got this 5G leadership thing, they are pushing that super hard. They're like, forget LTE.
Right.
We know we've given up on LTE, but here's our 5G, and we're amazing. They push that so hard.
Yep, they really do. Every commercial they do pushes the narrative and all their opportunities on these earnings calls and such.
You know, I was thinking about Sneed, that one thing that they didn't announce or talk about this earnings call, they didn't talk about the 5G adoption rate. They didn't really discuss that. And the reason I bring that up is because I believe it was Apple Watch that mentioned this. The Sprint customer that has a non-5G phone that is being TNX, they're going on to an already congested LTE network of T-Mobile's. So the effects of that is it's going to be more congested. So T-Mobile has to start talking about 5G adoption rate. If they're bringing up all this 5G jibber jabber, they got to start talking about, hey, how many people are actually getting these 5G phones?
I think myself as well as Dave, when we were talking about this earlier, we were kind of thinking about 5G adoption rate, and I think Verizon is approaching 20 to 25%.
20 to 25%.
I
Yes,
think
that's what they
I
talked
think
about.
AT&T is right there too.
I think AT&T's right there too.
Tyrone, what do you think the estimation is for
Tyrone,
T-Mobile?
what do you
Because I
think
got
the
them at like 10 or
estimation is for T-Mobile?
12%.
Because I got them at like 10 or 12%.
Yeah, no more than that. I'm at 10, 12. That's it. That is.
I think
it.
part of it is the customer demographic, the inability of them to want to upgrade. Like, that needs to be there. These customers have to see these ads and say to themselves, oh, wow, look at all this great 5G stuff going on. Now it's time for a device, because T-Mobile's giving phones away. They have the Samsung A32. They're doing that through T-Mobile branded and through Metro. They're telling people, trade in your phone and get a free one that's 5G capable and future proof.
Same with
I don't
the
know. Yeah, what else can you do, Carlos, if you're T-Mobile? Like, they're literally telling people, come in and get a 5G phone.
But this is the thing, bro. Like, I've noticed this. It's not about being a leader or something, bro. At the end of the day, you need to be reliable, bro. And that's the problem where I still have. I mean, there's some places where it's reliable. I'm not going to deny it. I'm not going to kick it back. That's great. You know, that's good. It needs to be. But we need it at a grand scale. Screw all this 100 megahertz thing and this and that. At 60 megahertz, if you have the right backhaul with it and the right density, it's gonna do actually just as good or better than having the whole 100 megahertz right now. Who cares about the megahertz numbers? We need reliability, density, backhaul, bro. Like, I can't even use T-Mobile to travel, bro.
And generators.
They're doing that.
They're doing that. They're actually doing that. So
Yes.
I can give credit.
So what Carlos is talking about is it's network parity, but it's the entire networking. It's not like spectrum advantage or spectrum position.
And it's not about speed. Everybody needs to stop with the BS, bro, about this speed crap, bro. Because it's not about the speed.
I look at speed and capacity is, can you adequately serve your consumer base in a market, right? So if you have, say, for example, 25% market share in a market, maybe that area doesn't need $1 billion in CapEx every year, right? That area is just not suitable. It doesn't even make sense, right? So you look at areas where you have high market share, those areas need to be prioritized. So T-Mobile does a good job of that. They prioritize areas where they have a lot of market share. So I have to give them credit there.
Yeah.
The one thing that we're starting to see, Dave just mentioned backup generators. That's coming to market. That's going to take time, because they're not going to go to a site and upgrade it without doing the generators now, because it's part of their initiative, right? It's now a program within the program. They're doing N41 upgrades. They're doing N71. They're modernizing LTE. They'll add the backhaul as needed. They're doing millimeter wave apparently now in certain cities, right, where they have the capacity needs, and they're getting congested N41, and they're going to add the generators. I think all that is going to happen simultaneously.
But how is it, man, that I'm able, let's say, okay, so let's say if I go to an area where Verizon's really congested, I get like 5 up, 1 down, let's just say. How can I hold that FaceTime call with you a lot better than I could with my 500 Mbps T-Mobile and 102 upload?
I mean,
that's the problem. How is my FaceTime call a lot clearer and a lot better, and it's not skipping, versus having all that capacity and it's skipping? And when I hand off on tower sites, it just crashes. How many times we crashed a call? We've tested it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. But my Verizon I go to an area that gets 1 Mbps on upload, it's crystal clear.
I don't know, man. I hear you. And actually, since we're talking about networking, this will kind of be the final point here. I'm going to start with Moose. I don't know if it's just me, but I actually feel really bad for Neville Ray. I'm watching him, listening to him. He's literally become a cheerleader. He says next to nothing about anything technical. He was asked today a very good question, something we have been dying for. Oh, and by the way, Mike Sievert, big shout out to my homie Walt Pychek. You guys can check him out on Twitter. He's also a partner with lightreading.com. The amount of disrespect, Mike Sievert literally thinks he's John Leisure. He's trying to carry on the same jokes that John used to do. That stuff needs to stop because he doesn't know Walt like that. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, big shout out to Walt, the homie. Neville Ray's become basically a cheerleader.
Walt asked a question today?
He was able to, I think, get his Twitter questions in. Twitter
Excellent.
questions. Yeah. Walt asked real questions, and he was asking about the fragmentation of N41 because of the licensing, the EBS-BRS situation, right? You've got churches, DSCs, big shout out to Nikki T, who always brings this up. They're talking about 100 megahertz national. How the hell are you going to do 100 megahertz national when you don't own licenses national? In some places, they only have 20 and 40 and 60 megahertz. They need to address that. There's no way, no how they're going to be able to deal with that unless they get the licenses situation out of control. You get what I'm saying?
Yep. Yep, that's the only way they can do it.
So I just wanted to bring up one highlight from today's earnings from T-Mobile. In one quarter, they did 13% Sprint customer network migrations. 13%. They're now at 33%, approximately 33%. And in one quarter, they went 30% increase. Suppose this is what it says. Improvements for Sprint customers. 80% of Sprint's customer traffic is now carried on the T-Mobile network.
80%?
80%. Hey!
It's a lot of traffic.
What's up, Pete, man?
What's up, Pete? Hey,
I'm tired. That's what's up.
you're tired.
Yeah.
Jesus, man.
Did they release how many gin bottles was sold? 5 gin?
Oh, yeah, they didn't release the gin. What happened with the gin?
I want me some 5 gin.
I think that was a PR mistake. But so in one quarter, it went up 30% of the traffic, right, to now 80%. And 13% of Sprint customers are now on the T-Mobile network, increased, right? So now 33% total. Isn't that too low for one quarter? It's been a year plus now.
Now, what about the T-Mobile home internet? You know, they did bring it up in the earnings call. I think they said they wanted to get up to, what, 500,000 or something like that?
Yep. By the end of next quarter, was it?
No, into the year.
Yeah. So, how do you guys feel about that? Now, do you guys think they can achieve it? Now,
Yes.
why is that? Why do you think so?
Go ahead, Pete.
I've been going around rural Colorado and Utah recently, and I've noticed that these locations that do not have like cable or fiber or even DSL ISPs have been getting some pretty solid 5G service from T-Mobile. So I think if they could get a better modem and actually market in those locations, they'll take the money sitting on the table.
And that's been. Oh, go ahead, Dave.
I think they do it. I'm a common reader of the T-Mobile subreddit, and there's one specifically dedicated to the T-Mobile ISP, and I'm seeing so many people, like so many posts of people ordering the thing, and they can't get the thing for like a month and a half or 2 months because of the chip shortage. I'm seeing tons of that, and
Yeah,
Pete's right. Good, Tyrone.
Yeah, just to back you up on that, I said this in my video earlier. If T-Mobile wants to hit 500K by the end of year, I think they're already approaching 300K ads now. They have to be. That's the only way it makes sense.
I mean, there are certain markets where I live where the options HughesNet and Starlink, and the non-fixed wireless T-Mobile, I'm getting like 60, 66 down. So if you can come in at $50 or $60 You're beating Starlink on price and possibly speed, and you're beating the living daylights out of HughesNet.
I mean, I'm on T-Mobile here in my apartment. I'm actually using T-Mobile ISP, and I get anywhere between 25 and 40 down on average, and it's perfectly fine. And I'm in the middle of the suburbs.
And are you the only one in your apartment?
I'm the only one in the actual apartment itself, but not the entire building. We only have one option for ISPs here in this building.
Yep. Well, what I'm getting at is like a consistent 25 down or even 30 down is enough for one person if you think about it.
Yeah.
It's even enough for a lot of families.
Oh, yeah.
Spectrum cuts out. We have parts in Southern California where, the VDSL, from AT&T, 50 down, 10 up is better than anything from Spectrum because of the reliability issues.
And VDSL is, early noughties technology.
Mm-hmm.
As Sneed says, garbage can residue.
But the thing is the gateways. Those gateways, we need better gateways for the T-Mobile home internet because the Nokia is working. It overheats.
Get some
degrades.
Get some Samsung technology gateways.
Yeah, even a Nighthawk. If you put a Nighthawk, right? The new Nighthawks?
Or even one like this.
Yeah, even the MR1100, give that as the home internet solution. It will work. And then it gives people like, hey, okay, so if you're in a rural situation, they give you an antenna with it. If you're in the suburbs or the city, you don't need the antenna because it's going to work good no matter what. That's the solution right there.
And
working.
I'm gonna say with something like this, I busted this out at a hotel in Puerto Rico for the Covini happened. I had the best service in the on a T-Mobile tablet line for the internet. I had the best internet service in the hotel.
Yeah.
Wow.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying, bro. Like if you would have been on the T-Mobile home internet gateway, then it would have been trash, bro. Because once it gets hot, I've noticed that once that gateway gets hot, the quality of the service degrades by a lot. If you let it cool off, like I've tested it already, I actually experimented with it. I put it in the freezer, like no BS, man, in the freezer for about an hour. Then I turned it on. The thing was actually running decent, and then once it got hot, it started degrading.
So, I picked up a Amplify Alien, a higher end Ubiquity router recently. It's running great, and because of this T-Mobile home internet trash can issue, I've actually appreciated the fact it's telling me how fast the fan's running and what the core temperature is.
What I do with mine, I hadn't noticed any kind of degraded service on mine, but what I actually did was to keep it cool, I put a fan under it. I've got one of those like USB fans and put under it.
Like a laptop.
Yeah, it was just one of those little USB fans with a little stand or whatever, and I just pointed it straight up into the bottom of the gateway. As I said, I hadn't had any problems with it overheating or degrading service or anything, and I was surprised at that considering how many reports I've read of that happening.
Hey, just keep it cooled, and your internet should be decent.
Like it sits right in the window in the sun, but with that fan under it, it does not get hot.
It should have a built-in fan in it. I don't know why they didn't do that.
There's enough space in there to include one.
I know, right?
I took mine apart. There is enough space because I heard that there's a mod that you can do to add an external antennas. I already bought the parts right now, so I'm waiting for them to come in. And there's room in that gateway to put a fan in it. A decent size too.
Those waveform antennas?
Yeah.
Oh, I've seen some good results on that. Look at the T-Mobile ISP subreddit.
I think that's where I got it from.
Actually, I think James onto something here. The airflow is crucial. Having external fans and all that may or may not be necessary. But if you look at the actual engineering design of the gateway, okay, it's a cylinder. That's unusual. All right. Most of them are square. with ventilation on all sides. You know, when Pete brought up the Samsung device, the T-Mobile home internet using that Nokia trash can design, Verizon home internet is using a like squarish rectangular thing that sits up against a window or can be mounted by that suction cup. There's airflow on the sides and the back and the front, I think. Maybe. I don't know if it's underneath or something. But there are 100%, there's ventilation on the sides of it. And the heat just dissipates by itself. I don't think it's active cooled at all.
Most good routers these days have either a fan or pressure sucking air up from the bottom where it's cooler and pushing it out the sides and the top.
They really dropped the ball in two ways, Nokia. Number one is the engineering and the design. Number two is, since you designed it poorly, you should have at least put it in a cooling measure. Since you didn't passively design heat dissipation, you should have actively designed some kind of a mechanism to force the hot air out instead of containing it.
You know, the no fan worked for the Mac Pro trash can well. Felt like repeating it.
It's true, man. That thing is... Bro, that happens a lot. People want compact. People want everything, you know, tightly packed in.
You know, when that model came out with the two Xeons, I took a look at it, took a look at the benchmarks, and built a Hackintosh based on a Dell I picked up from a university surplus store. If it wasn't for the graphics cards, I would have smoked it.
All right.
Because it started smoking.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I've seen crazy stuff, dude. I've seen batteries swelling. I've seen smoke. I've seen charging ports melt. You know, I've seen all types of that stuff.
Galaxy Note 7.
Flagship phone of Dish Network.
Yeah, man.
Fire Mobile.
Fire Mobile.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, but they're going to come in hard, though. You got to give them credit, bro.
They're going to come in hot, Pete.
They're coming in hot, not hard.
Hey,
yeah, if their phones catch fire, they really will be coming in quite hot.
But, bro, I wonder if they're going to include HBO Max. I think they are, man. I think
No. They should include Sling TV.
They will, too. It's their product, bro. Why not? But I think they're going to include HBO Max. Something tells me they are, because they're already including it on the Dish TV customers. Like, they're giving it as an option. So
hey, I got HBO Max when I still had the T-Vision for $10 a month through them. So,
okay.
A lot of carriers or cable providers or TV providers actually get wholesale rates for premium channels. So sometimes you do encounter when you're purchasing a premium channel for $10, the wholesale provider, they're actually charging $15 as a markup.
Bro, hey, Pete, you remember how you were talking about how you didn't think Eugene was going to make it through the year?
Yep.
He got a spot at CES, man. He's going to be on a keynote.
Man, Los, we might have to look at that.
I know. I already got you the ticket, bro. You think I'm ahead, bro? Come on, man.
Bring the Old Spice.
Tell me the time, and I'll tell my boss I'm going to be shilling out our tech at CES.
Exactly, bro. I already knew I know you, bro. I'm a step ahead. Don't worry.
All right, Pete. I need your take on this. I feel that Neville Ray, the legendary Neville Ray, has kind of sort of been delegated to a cheerleader. He's kind of become a network mascot. We've talked about how, you know, solid engineers, they give you a solid decade, 10 years of balls to the wall.
Maybe
man.
15 if you're
Maybe
lucky.
15 if they're special, right?
Yeah.
Okay. He, during today's earnings call, he sidestepped questions about 2.5 gigahertz.
The contiguousness.
Yeah, he simply stated, and the fragmented nature of the spectrum licensing, he said, his response was literally, we have the best mid-band available.
Only in certain markets.
And we're going to have 100 megahertz nationwide. That was his response.
So I'd like to see how they get the 100 megahertz nationwide, especially in those markets where they have 40 or 60.
Well, what people want to know is what is going to be their approach to dealing with the fragmentation, and they don't want to talk about it. They want to pretend like the problem doesn't exist.
Probably busting out the credit card.
Go ahead.
I missed the technical level under John Ledger where he would take up half the darn earnings call talking about the network.
Bro, where he actually did work.
When he worked, he was great.
When he actually was doing design, and that's when the network shined. And I think that was the 17 era, 18, most of 19, almost all of 19.
I was a little disappointed they didn't have the executive vice president of network infrastructure up there.
I haven't heard from him publicly in a long time.
He's probably the one gunning to replace Neville.
I don't know. It must be the accent or something. They're like, yeah, we got to have Neville up there talking.
Hey, Neville sounds like a middle of the country Yank.
All right, so Ryan, how come T-Mobile won't tell us this? How come T-Mobile won't speak to it? What, are they trying to be coy? Do you feel compelled to be coy about something that everybody wants to know about? That's like Verizon, like, nah, we're not going to talk about C-band. We're like, yeah, Verizon, you're going to buy 160 megahertz of it. And they ended up getting 160 to 200 nationwide. Yeah, I don't know, man. Maybe Neville just, whatever.
I did want to go back to what you were asking, Sneed, about the network situation. Because to me, I think that's something that is, thankfully we got Walt asking questions, because at least, somebody can go and ask, hey, what's going to go on with this N41 business?
But we still didn't get the answers. No answer. We finally got some questions through, but they didn't really answer. They sidestepped pretty much everything.
But at the end of the day, the consumer is going to be the one answering the question. And what I mean by that is this. As soon as Verizon turns on that C-band N77, it's going to blow everything, bro, out of the water. I'm telling you right now, where it's activated, it's going to be unbelievable. Okay?
Theoretically it is. We have to wait and see. I'm a wait and see kind of guy. I expect it to be good. Engineers are telling me they're super excited about C-band. Pete, for the last 2 years, people have been calling C-band the Goldilocks spectrum of 5G. Is that is that hyperbole or is that legitimate?
The Goldilocks, for saying C-band is Goldilocks, is PR. Anything between 1.5 gigahertz and about 5 gigahertz will do great, and the lower you go, the better penetration you get. So anything in the 2 or 3 gigahertz range, you're looking pretty sweet.
Is it the capacity potential that makes it Goldilocks, as they call it?
It's a tricky one, considering
who's never called it Goldilocks? Verizon never called it that. AT&T never called it that. That was the analysts.
Yeah,
the Spectrum people called it that.
What I'm seeing with the groups I'm talking with regarding 5G, capacity is not the topic. The topic is what features can we do using, all that funky stuff Dish is talking about.
Oh, the standalone, the latency, the
latency, the network slices, the guaranteed throughputs, the guaranteed whatever. So ideally with 5G, the marker of spectrum is not going to be how fast can it download, but how many applications can you access on that spectrum available.
Real talk, Pete. Millimeter wave is the ultimate capacity layer.
It is the ultimate capacity layer. It does great when you're dealing with trying to cover people in a constricted area, a large amount of people in a constricted area.
Right.
It's like the Wi-Fi 6E thing saying, hey, we will work great with over 1,000 people.
Right, because consumers are going to understand, oh, you can access this many applications.
Yeah, so until we're out of the LTE mindset, it's going to be, yes, it's balls to the wall speed. But once we're done with the LTE mindset, it's going to be, this is what the network can do for you. Because LTE was all about speed.
Well, it was all about relative speed improvements compared to 3G.
Yeah.
It's always about the generation that preceded.
Yeah, so you said it, 4G LTE, about the speed improvements from compared to 3G, and the speed allowed you to create better applications.
Yeah.
Better online banking apps, better maps, better meal ordering stuff.
High-res video playback.
Video playback on the network. Just streaming in general.
Mm-hmm.
On a dense 3G network, you could not load a 144p YouTube video.
Remember those days, Pete? At the Blackberries and stuff?
So we're going to be like, yeah, it's all about the speed in 5G until it's about this is what 5G can do for you that 4G can't.
All right. What else do you guys want to touch on as we're kind of winding down the show here?
Let me ask you this. Knowing that this upgrade cycle for the iPhone 12s or 13 will be very difficult to obtain, and in the spreadsheet there, I also put the upgrade rates. T-Mobile had the lowest upgrade rate of the three, 4.7%. Verizon 4.8.
Are you talking about the adoption rate for the 5G devices?
No. This is upgrade rate, like overall upgrade on postpaid.
They were at 4.7%. Yes.
Yeah, 4.7. Verizon was 4.8 or 4.9. Sneed.
Verizon was Verizon over 5%?
No.
No.
I think it's 4.9.
High fours. Okay.
4.9.
AT&T was right there too, weren't they?
AT&T was at 5%. But
okay.
Are these sustainable? If there's no phones, they're not sustainable.
Well,
right?
I don't think that's not the issue. The upgrade rate, I think, isn't it a conversion of number of lines on the network versus how many upgrades there were for that quarter?
And is the upgrade done in carrier store, or is it somebody buying a Pixel 5 off the Google store?
I think it's just from the carrier itself because they're the ones that are making money off of it.
Yeah, that's what it is. So people like me and the business people I know who don't finance their phones from the carrier store, they just buy it outright because it's easier to write off at the end of the year.
Right.
Do skew those metrics.
Right.
I wish people would stop buying phones from carriers.
It's too easy to do it that way, you know? People don't have $1,000 right now unless you have a stimulus.
Well, then people don't need to be buying $1,000 phones, do they?
Hey, without the stimmy, I'm at $25,000 in liquid assets.
Very good. But still, people want the latest phone. They're going to buy stuff on credit. They have credit scores, internal credit scores. Every company has it. T-Mobile's the only one that does a down payment still.
Well, you can finance a phone through the OEM, but I totally get what you mean. But people, quite frankly, the general consumer isn't very smart.
Right.
The problem is that
actually they are. They are. What they're doing is they're taking advantage of
The promo.
The promo, right, Dave? So it's not that they're not smart,
They're
but they're looking
taking-
at it like, I'm going to be on this network. I've been on this network. Like, take Verizon, for example. Look at the churn rate. Nobody leaves, right? So why don't we just lock them in for another 2 years? We're going to offer them a promotion, buy one, get one free iPhone. It's not that they're stupid. They just know I need service on my phone for forever. I'm always going to need my phone connected. So let me just upgrade through the carrier. They're going to give me a trade-in deal. I get rid of my old phone. I get a new one.
Yeah, they don't care. In the end, they do not care.
All right.
Promo is one thing. The other thing is, if I set up a store account with Google, how the hell am I going to remember to pay that? When I finance through the carrier, it just goes onto my credit card through that bill every month.
That's true.
And then
Both
also,
situations, I'm getting 0% interest.
I have a buddy of mine that is affiliated with Swappa.com.
Yep.
No plug, no ad, nothing. I'm just talking about Swappa because I use them. It's the cheapest way to take advantage of the carrier promotions, and I'll tell you what I mean. If hypothetically this year with the iPhone 12s or iPhone 12 or 13, whatever one comes out, right, you would like to buy it, right, and you'd like to finance it through the carrier, right, what I would recommend, you pay off the remaining balance on your existing line, on your existing phone, you sell that because that's going to be more money, and then you can buy an iPhone 8, an iPhone 10, the cheapest available for the promotion, and then boom, you just saved yourself massive amounts of money over the course of that upgrade cycle, right? Because you not only made cash from the sale of your previous phone, but now you're getting the phone, the new installment on a substantially less per month price.
You're taking advantage of the carrier. But the thing is, and the only reason that I say that carriers shouldn't sell phones is the fact that if people bought phones unlocked, either had to pay full price or had to finance it with through the OEMs, I think the prices of phones would come down. I think you would see less $1,200 phones, $1,300, because people see, oh, it cost me $30 a month extra on my bill for 2 years.
It cost me $25 a month for 3 years.
Yeah, but here's the thing, guys. The truth of the matter is the only reason phones are expensive are because of two companies.
Samsung, Apple.
That's it. There's no other reason why phones are expensive.
I mean,
Samsung made it clear that starting with the Note 9, phones were going to $1,000. It was $949 plus tax.
And
it
then
was
Apple-
$1,000, and then Apple came back with the X, with the 10, and it was $1,000.
I mean, this Pixel I spent like $850 on, and
Plenty, more than enough.
more than enough.
Wait,
Great
you know.
phone, great camera, no complaints.
Now, I do want to mention one thing, though. This year is going to be very interesting because if we have no phones, no actual stock of anything, people are not going to be able to switch carriers. Right now, it seems like not many people are going to be switching carriers unless they have an issue with the network. Because clearly, it's not about price right now. Verizon people are holding steady, right, Sneed? People are holding. AT&T people, they're migrating from other carriers.
Moose,
to,
I have not heard
Yeah.
of supply shortage chains affecting Galaxy devices. I've only heard it in reference to the iPhone because of the volume they sell.
Now, I have heard of Galaxy S21.
I've heard of release delays. I have not heard of supply constraints necessarily.
Yeah, some stores, the S21 was out of stock, but that was, within a couple days they would have shipped to your home or
Sure.
place of business. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I don't hear any issues of supply shortages on day one on the Galaxies. But remember, we're always talking about iPhones when we're talking about this stuff. Now, one thing that I wanted to mention though. So if you are typically a switcher every year on an upgrade cycle, this year you might not need to switch. That's another thing that is unprecedented this year, Sneedman, is that the fact that you don't have to switch to get the best promo because every carrier is now doing this similar promo to keep you with them.
They want you locked in.
So here's the thing. There should be a lot of excitement for two types of customers. the AT&T enthusiast, the Verizon enthusiast should be very excited about C-band clearance. They, in January, February, March, April, should be looking at an upgrade, if not already before that, because you're going to get a piece of a dedicated 5G channel that's not millimeter wave, right?
Hey, Sneed, does the Pixel 5 have C-band?
The Pixel 5 has C-band, yes.
So if last year a T-Mobile customer purchased a Pixel 5 and they're in one of those dense markets like in Southern California where T-Mobile bought a good bit of C-band.
It's BC block, though, so it'll be 2023.
Ugh.
Yeah.
So in South Cali,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to be buying up that in 2023.
If
They don't have... No. The customers are going to be getting the phone, so their connection isn't congested.
The markets that are going to get C-band for T-Mobile will be some of the more dynamic networking possibilities in the market.
Yep.
Because N41, N78, whatever configurations of millimeter wave might be out there with 47 gigahertz, I guess devices should be good to go by then. They've got 28 gigahertz licenses as well, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, there's a lot of and look, I haven't seen it up to this point. I'm not going to bet on it, but as soon as T-Mobile's ready to start embracing the densification grind, I'm all for it.
Hey, I'm waiting for them to say, "Oh, there's congestion in LA. We're throwing up some small sites to for the millimeter wave to ease the pain."
They don't do small cells for millimeter wave, though. They put them on rooftops.
Yeah, that's what I've noticed. Or macros.
Macros. Right.
I've got confirmation from my T-Mobile engineering friend that the strategy for them is, right, N41, N71 combo upgrade, or N41, right? Then they do the upgraded backhaul. Then millimeter wave on the macro. Confirmed.
Hey, Moose.
Yeah.
Got a question for you.
Yeah.
Seem to have some engineering friends in the cell industry. Mm-hmm. Any way you could get me an anonymized packet of 5G data?
I don't even know exactly. I don't even know exactly.
That's really open ended, Pete.
Yeah, that's a very open ended question. We'll talk about it later.
I want data.
No, I just want to see what a packet looks like. Could even have all the addresses zeroed out, because the diagrams online tell me nothing.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I've looked at some of the engineering schematics. They're real generic, nothing specific.
Yeah, and they're like, "Oh, this is this, but it doesn't give address lengths, or this is this."
You want to look at topography, you want to look at elevation, you want to look at the cityscapes. And
no,
such.
I just want to know how the packet's lined up, where the payload is compared to an IPv6 packet.
Oh,
because mobile phone IPv6 packets are configured differently.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want an anonymized mobile phone IPv6 packet.
Pete, what do you think's going on with the T-Mobile home internet relative to that?
That's part of what I'm looking at.
That's what I would like to know, because I had more problems on my T-Mobile home internet than I did with mobility.
Did you have to set up an IPv4 NAT on that?
No, they don't let you do anything. They don't let you customize shit.
Did you get an IPv4 NAT?
No, I don't know.
Were
you on a 192.168 type thing?
I think so, yeah.
Then you got an IPv4 NAT.
They use 464 lat or whatever, so they do IPv4. Like if you're connected directly to the gateway, they issue you an IPv4 and an IPv6 address. If you're connected to like a router behind your gateway, like a Linksys or a Google or whatever, then you get only IPv4 because it does not have IPv6 pass through.
That was one of the complaints that people want. They had a gripe with the gateway.
Hey, if you're on an IPv6 network, you should be able to get IPv6 paths through.
Yeah, but Pete, they were having a problem with their work. It was an issue with whatever they had to use. Like, say they were doing home office stuff, right? And they have to log in,
Yep.
for some kind of a work application or some kind of a specific routing scenario. Carlos, you know what I'm talking about, how certain jobs, they'll have like certain types of routing, rerouting, and then they do like individualized VPNs and stuff
I
like
do
that.
I do that daily.
Right.
So
Exactly.
what I've noticed is like I have firewall and I use VPN, and when I do that, it does not like it. The gateway does not like it at all.
Nope.
Does not. It'll kick me out. It'll go through. It'll work for a little bit, but then it just kicks me out of nowhere. It'll say no connection.
Yep.
My setup was I would go from the gateway, and then I have a PFSense firewall from Netgate.
Yeah,
Those are
And so
nice.
I know, right? I would go into that, and that's where I couldn't get IPv6 because the Netgate firewall was getting assigned an IPv6, but the gateway wasn't giving out a pool of 6 addresses for the gateway to hand out for the firewall to hand out. So if I wanted to use IPv6, I would have had to set up an IPv6 NAT thing.
Wait. IPv6 NAT.
Yeah, I would have had to configure an IPv6 NAT where the firewall would assign IPv6 addresses and then NAT translate it to the IPv6 address that it was issued by the modem, because the modem didn't pass it a pool and only gave it one.
I'm working with my ISP to fix that issue. Maybe we can open source it. Because T-Mobile per market has over what was it? Over 65,000 IPv6 addresses.
Now, I wanted to mention something totally different here. As we all know, the second half of the quarter is alive and well, right? About to be August. I've seen a lot of activity from everybody. Ridiculous amounts of upgrades. We got CRAN in neighborhoods that you didn't even think about before. Okay, we got millimeter wave, small cells everywhere.
They really do. They're really working hard here. Like in the North Fort Worth area, a lot of neighborhoods have it.
We know that there's a significant amount of macros coming, right, still to every part of the United States. I'm very excited to see how the networks are going to be by December 31st. It's going to be drastically different than the last time we really had a check on the networks.
Hey, I'm expecting the other half of my city to get N41 by the end of the year. So, yeah, network overhaul on T-Mobile, and hey, maybe we'll find AT&T service in the 2 dead spots here.
I know there's macros coming.
I'm hoping to see N41 get added to my closest tower. I'm like 1 tower away from having N41 here.
You deserve N41, Dave. You deserve it.
So why is AT&T doing only LAA small cells? Or, in neighborhoods, there's nothing else on it.
They don't have anything else they can license.
What do you mean by nothing else? Usually it's band 2, 5.
They don't got
66.
basically CBRS, but they are fixing that solution with Dish.
Yes.
They're going to be using
Yes.
Dish CBRS licenses until they broadcast their CBRS.
Okay, but these little cell things going up, I don't know, whatever they're called. They're only on that one street. They don't go on the street, on the next street over, the street before it. It's not that far. It's only LAAs, so
LAA is really low power.
Yep.
So why would they be spending all that money just doing LAA?
Oh, you mean? Well, hold on. Usually they do band 2 and band 5 if that market has it. or they put band 66 and then the LAA. But you're saying why don't they put millimeter wave?
Why don't they do millimeter wave or just add a simple small cell? I've seen small cells like in Dallas, and that would be awesome for a neighborhood because it's only working on LTE.
Okay, so dude, there's a neighborhood here. It's in older, like in the middle of Vegas, so it's like older homes, everything. They actually had T-Mobile has CBRS there in that whole neighborhood, and that CBRS is outperforming N41 there. Like I'm talking about outperforming the hell out of it.
Yeah,
I'm getting 600-700 Mbps on CBRS when I force it to N41, and I'm lucky if I even get 200.
wow.
Hey, maybe in that area, most of the consumers are sitting on the 5G spectrum, and they have some free 4G spectrum that people aren't jumping on.
Well, the gateway there, I know I brought my gateway with me in the car, and the gateway prefers actually CBRS. It'll be on CBRS the whole time there.
Yep. In my situation, it prefers LAA.
So that would mean for the T-Mobile area, their mobile internet, their fixed internet, is calibrated for CBRS, and they're giving extra spectrum on the CBRS.
Because Pete, like in that area, when you come here, we'll check it out. You'll see what I'm talking about. But that area, I think, has a lot of T-Mobile home internet users because that was the area that was you were able to get T-Mobile home internet. Like that, those were the only addresses you were able to get back then when it was in beta.
Yeah, so they threw up the CBRS for T-Mobile just for the internet customers.
Yeah, and it works good. Don't get me wrong. I won't downplay, bro. CBRS is real. It will save any network.
And I will say one thing though. 100 megs a second on N41, not amazing, but also nothing to say, man, this sucks.
No, but
so what I'm saying is, you're doing the at-home internet, you're getting a good connection, and when you're walking down the street, you're watching your 4K SDR Disney Plus on your phone, no problem.
When you're walking down the street,
getting mugged after someone beats you with a Nokia. Yep.
I was gonna ask you, did anybody notice the AWS increases on AT&T last weekend?
We got to talk, bro, because my upload speeds decreased by a substantial, bro, at my house.
More people on the network, dog.
No. This happened ever since last weekend where the announcement came of using the license. This was not before that.
It's that terrible Los Mobile you're using, bro.
Yep.
God damn.
Hell no.
No, there should be something, in some markets, what I've been told, various other people, I know PA mentioned some stuff, that the AWS licenses, the channels have been widened. So it's just a matter of time at this point to see where everything ends up.
Yeah, bro. I mean, I just hope that they put more solution to the situation, bro. That, like here, I've noticed a lot. There's too many macros that are close together, and they're beaming the signal so hard. You remember before how it was, where only certain parts was decent, and the rest it was pretty like
hit or miss.
Yeah, there you go. That's the best way to put it.
Yeah, I remember that.
Well, now because they put even more macros, bro. Like literally, macros are spaced a quarter mile or less from each other. That's too close, and they're powering them hard to get the signal traveled out. So you're interfering. Like I can.
Are they upping bills for that? Because that's a lot of wasted electricity.
I guess, bro. I mean, all I know is like, let's say it's a quarter mile away. So we'll go in between. Like, what is it? 1/8 of a mile in.
Yeah.
Okay, so. The phone is confused. It's hopping between towers on the PCI on the N41. It's confused because the power is beamed so hard.
Next,
So-
they'll start charging you their property taxes.
That's
So I've encountered at some supermarkets near me where they haven't deployed the 41 yet, but they have this SA71 on two sites, both with about equal frequency, and it just goes back and forth, back and forth.
Thank you. There you go. That's the problem.
You got to tune it down or angle your antennas.
Mhm.
it's the little things, right, Pete?
Yeah, you give it a little nuance, you'll do better. I mean, but quarter mile could get rid of every other one of those and still be fine.
Yeah. Just hopefully they stop with the beaming with so much, like at least in urban and suburban. In
Yeah, but
rural,
that's how they get those pops. You
But
know
in
what I'm
ru-
saying, Lowe's?
Yeah, but in rural it makes sense.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Not in urban and suburban, bro. And too many tower sites. You got to space them out. Verizon has the least amount of tower sites here in Vegas, bro, but they perform the best, even better than AT&T. I'm sorry to say, when it comes to the handoffs. But it's the way it is. The other two have a lot of tower sites here, and it's give or take. But AT&T is working it out. It's gotten a lot better. I won't downplay it. It's gotten a lot better and stable. But they still need to figure out North Las Vegas because North Las Vegas service is no good for AT&T. No.
Bird asks, how good is 100 megabits on T-Mobile Band 41?
Damn good.
I guess it's fine. I don't see why that would be an issue.
Considering they're capping it in some markets to like 20 megahertz, since it's band 41, they're using that as a
the
capacity.
uplink is trash, bro.
No. Trash you can at least upload things on.
Oh shit.
Pete, it's so bad. The uplink is awful. Even if you have
No,
like
dude,
a 90 RSRP, it's still like 3 to 4 or 5 megabits.
Sneed. The problem with how you're talking about this is you're referring to the fact that it might have uplink.
It might.
For you to get uplink on band 41, not an R71, you would need band 26.
Yeah, but I only have 3 megahertz of that.
That's still better uplink than B41.
Pete, how's C-band uplink going to be? What do you think, man? 60 megahertz.
It's based on how the carriers want to power it and partition it. Again, 5G, the only, like if you're using 5G in an idealized scenario 3 years from now, you'll open your SteamYard app, right? And you'd get capped at 720p upload, and you would only be using that uplink. So, I mean, Verizon will probably go balls to the wall in the initial deployment, as will AT&T. You'll be seeing the 2 hundos.
Yeah, easily across the board 200 plus Mbps. I agree with that, Pete. Easily.
But, 4 years from now, we'll only be seeing like 40, unless we're completely on a completely open connection, just for the sake of seeing how fast our spectrum allotment does.
You mean what's going to be the average after everybody uses the internet like crazy?
Yeah, but like the only time you'll see big numbers is if you see an aggregate of the capacity for everything you have access to. Like, you'll probably see YouTube video streaming, not live streaming from YouTube creators, capped at about 25 megs down. But you'll have a consistent 25 megs down.
Slicing, dicing.
It's going to be all about the slicing, dicing, and chopping.
Vacuum that data.
Yeah, because if you think about it, if I'm using a 100 meg connection to download YouTube content, I'm taking, like 30 megahertz of band 41 and just congesting it with superfluous waste. But if I could just get the 25 down for the 4K video, I'm using like 5 megahertz on a dedicated connection without buffering.
So I just pulled up a Fierce Wireless article from June 24th this year, 2021. South Korea is arguably the pinnacle of 5G right now. They have been since day one.
Are they doing millimeter wave moves?
Yes, they're doing millimeter wave. Okay,
all right.
Okay.
But the low end.
Pete.
So let me just say this really quickly.
You had to throw that in there, Pete. You had to do that to me.
Let me just throw this in quickly. All carriers have above 80 megahertz, okay, of C-band equivalent spectrum, okay?
Okay. Like 3.5, 3.7,
yeah, exactly. They're doing 646 Mbps average.
Hold on, Moose. Are they auctioning spectrum or are they handed spectrum?
They were handed spectrum.
They're selling spectrum. They go, here's your box. Give us the money. Here's your box. Give us the money.
Pete, if I'm doing my math right, to do a 25 megabit connection to YouTube, you'd only be using around, like 2 megabits a second? 2 megabits a second, not 5.
2 megahertz, yes.
Yeah, 2 megahertz, my bad.
Yeah, that's the idea. So, what about South Korea?
So what I'm saying is that everybody has, for C-band, above 80, right? So LGU Plus, which is the equivalent of T-Mobile, has 80. KT, equivalent of AT&T, and SKT, equivalent of Verizon, have 100 megahertz each. They're doing 646 Mbps average now. That's including C-band.
Yeah, you got to think about how they can densify, though. You know, Nicky T brought that up. He said the tower density is incredible. I'm assuming the nearest cell site could be anywhere between a quarter mile to a mile.
They're between 3/4 and a kilometer away.
Yeah.
And they're probably down tilting their antennas to keep them from interfering with each other, but they're so darn close that practically everybody and their grandma gets their own cell site.
Hey, Dave, what do you think rural South Korea is like? What do you think?
Those cows are getting 5G resistant corona.
Oh my god. That's fantastic. Hopefully they're not demonetizing anybody anymore. It's pretty common now. It's pretty common vernacular.
I hope they're not demonetizing you for me talking about the corona.
No, we should be good, bro. I bet some of the things I hear people talking about on YouTube is absurd.
I'm betting rural South Korea gets a minimum of like 200 Mbps.
Oh yeah, they have fiber everywhere in the country, even in rural, because it's the size of South Carolina.
Okay? Yep.
It's not that big, but peak speeds are insane. You know, with millimeter wave, C-band, and everything. My God.
So that's so South Korea is the blueprint for statewide 5G.
Yep.
Correct.
Yep.
Okay.
And
Each state needs to do that. Whatever South Korea did.
Heck, if you have that kind of density and that kind of size, you should just get rid of low band and mid band completely and just run all millimeter wave.
Well, no. The problem becomes, building penetration and such. But really the issue with, like, if you look at, say, for example, the United States, is we allocate our resources for different things, right? There's different politics to each region and state. I mean, we can't agree on a fiber program for the country. You know what I'm saying?
So here's the thing. In South Korea, they have broadcast television much like we do.
Mm-hmm.
However, the broadcast TV is in a dedicated spectrum block. When
so it's nice
the
and
FCC sold 71. The companies had to wait to deploy it because you had 71 TV 71. And they don't do that in South Korea.
Yeah, see, our spectrum is so fragmented and messed up.
It's
that,
a
quite frankly,
hodgepodge.
I think that the FCC ought to just, I mean, it would be a pain in the absolute butt.
Sure.
But I think the FCC should just take everything, wipe the entire spectrum slate above 30 megahertz completely clean, and reassign everything in proper blocks.
And by doing that, they should, provide any equipment that needs to be changed out due to how much they messed it up.
Yep. Because if they did everything above 30 megahertz, they go from 30 megahertz all the way up to 47 gigahertz or whatever the heck T-Mobile, like the highest bands are.
48.
Reassign everything.
So
radio, television, everything.
Well, radio and television would be hard. But there is a really convenient thing about radio and television, though. They're already in a semi-contiguous block. As it is, we now only have 36 broadcast channels we can use for over-the-air TV. So switching it to the top end of that to the bottom end of the band 71 would be fine, and then just continuing on from there. Radio is all contiguous. So there are certain spectrum allotments that can say, but the patching in spectrum allocations between them without proper guard bands is BS.
And quite frankly, I think a lot of our spectrum is set aside for military use and is never used.
So basically how I'd do it is I'd put all mobile phone traffic beginning at 760 megahertz. And everything below that, with the exception of a 1 gigahertz block, would be for TV and radio. Because that's how it was in the 70s when the NTIA controlled all of it. And I just go from that one point between I'd give the low band at the high 700 below the TV frequency evenly to the carriers so they can get some nice voice calling and building penetration. Then after that, I'd just go up until we hit the military walls in even chunks.
But you don't want half of all these different bands, half to DoD, half to consumer wireless.
It's not half, it's 33% DoD.
But you get what I'm saying, Pete? We should have dedicated spectrum locations. Like when you look at the frequencies, for example. Like
one of the difficulties with doing that, and if we're on a spending spree, you could change the military over so they get the band between 750 and above, and then a couple more in the mid bands for applications, and then give the rest up to consumer connections.
I don't know, the way I look at it, I just feel like sometimes the disorganized nature of spectrum, segmentation and fragmentation has been part of the problem.
I agree with you, but I am going to say it would be a pain in the ass to change out the aircraft radar for FAA regulations.
But we could start now.
Yeah, we could
everything
move in the right direction.
Right, we could start now, and I think...
And do the shuffle and finish it in 10 years.
Exactly. All right. What do you guys think? We covered it all?
I think so.
All right. I got to get up and bake in the morning, man. Got to
I
help out at the bakery.
I gotta get up at 6 a.m., get ready for a meeting, then drive an hour, go to a meeting, then come back at 3 o'clock.
Text me during some of those meetings. Send me, I don't know, send me something funny, bro, because I know some of those meetings drag, dog.
Oh, they do, but
I'll send you a meme of like a jet skiing squirrel or something. Give you a chuckle.
these meetings are basically, you know how I've said I've been spending time teaching new grad students how to write papers?
Right.
It's that type of meeting.
Oh, man. You're going to need a 5-hour energy, dog.
Hey, the faculty advisor gets me 2 coffees. I'm fine.
Nice.
Just get one of those Starbucks double shot cans.
All right. Let me
I should ask for a red eye next time then.
Let me do a couple of shout outs. We lost Tyrone a while ago, but we want to thank him. Moderators, if you could please throw in a link to Tyrone's channel. Let's give him a special shout out for joining us. Also, a link to Carlos S. Tech's channel. Go ahead and subscribe to his. We got Dave B's Tech. Thank you for coming on, Dave. Glad you could be a part of the show.
Oh, real quick. If you've been watching this for 15 minutes and you don't think we're the worst channel ever, hit that like button.
Let's get some likes. Big shout out to Apple Watts, too. He's got a YouTube channel. If somebody could get me a link to that one. And big shout out to Moose. He was amped up to come on and do the show. Always a big...
Oh!
DJ, kick the music. Thanks to everybody who there were some super chats earlier, so big shout out to all those super chat donations. Thanks, James. Appreciate you there. Thanks to all the commenters. Everybody that was here for the live show, #2LiveCrew. For those that are watching this on DVR, hashtag replay crew. And then if you were eating or watching while you were eating, snacking or something, #ravioli gang, #mod squad for all my blue wrenches out there. All the Patreon supporters, all the new patrons, longtime patron supporters. Thank you guys. Stephanie, I appreciate you coming through. Zeke, Maverick, longtime supporter. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. The channel's approaching 15,000 subs.
Hey, hold up. I got a question for Maverick. How are you liking that 5 megahertz of B41 on your Sprint connection?
He's still at 40 megahertz, he tells me. How?
No.
And also remember that nothing you hear on this channel is life or financial advice. You take anything you hear here at your own risk.
I know.
Somebody send me a phone so I can go down to his area and see if he actually gets 40 megahertz.
No. It has to be a Sprint phone.
Okay, send it. Come on. Somebody's got a Sprint phone.
Says it okay then.
Okay then.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. And thanks, MS. I know you had a couple of donos. I don't know if it's going to show me all of them.
It does.
There were some that went all the way back. So thank you, guys. No Radio, Ryan, BF. Let's see who else was here today. Jonathan, Bladius, Tom, Jeremy. I'm just kind of going through here. Ethan. Appreciate you guys.
Mav apparently lost 20 megahertz, which is what he's going to be seeing happening again before the end of the year.
Yep, big shout out to Zach as well. That they're going to be slicing and dicing that network, and I'm not talking network slicing. We're talking about bandwidth removal.
It's going to be like, oh, you want LTE? You get 5 megahertz.
It's going to be exactly what they were going to do to the Bose customers, Pete.
3 megahertz.
Thanks, Gregory. Appreciate you.
1 megahertz of band 41.
You got to get
0.1 megabits per second.
Hey, it's enough to make a phone call.
Thanks, Joeseph. Appreciate it, man. All right, gents.
Yeah, they're going to be like, it's going to be 1 megahertz. You can make a phone call. Get on the the N41.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, right.
Can you hear me now? No.
You hear that, Keon? We got to get you off the Sprint network, bro. Cut it out.
Oh, snap.
Oh, man. You guys want to do a Twitter space real quick?
Sprint. He probably loaded at the beginning.
I actually don't think you could do 500 kilohertz NLT. I think you could on 3G though. 2G. Okay, that's
On 3G, the small is 750.
okay. That's what I thought. It's crazy. You guys are hilarious. All right, guys, let's wrap it up. We appreciate you all. Thank you for watching. Hit the like button on the way out. Subscribe if it's your first time here. Turn on notifications by hitting the bell, and we appreciate you. Thank you so
The
much. For doing that.
notifications don't show up unless you hit the bell.
Yeah,
or RSS.
And then follow us on Twitter, and you can follow us, and I tweet out everything that we do.
Wait, there's an RSS feed for this?
Of
Yeah,
course.
you can get YouTube is on RSS feed for whatever channel you want.
Just like a podcast, dog.
Yeah, I use the SMT Discord.
There you go.
I use
All right,
RSS.
y'all. We out this piece.
Peace.
Peace.